As the movement of becoming begins to be seen more clearly, another consequence of it starts to reveal itself. Conflict, not as something occasional, but as something built into the very structure of becoming. The moment the mind creates an ideal, something it believes it should become, it also creates a division between what is and what should be. This division may appear subtle at first. I am here. I want to be there. But within that simple statement, attention is already present. The present is no longer accepted as it is. It is seen as incomplete, insufficient, something that needs to change. And so effort begins. The mind tries to move from what is toward what should be. It disciplines itself, it controls, it resists certain tendencies, it encourages others, all in the name of becoming something better. At first, this may feel purposeful, even necessary. But when observed closely, the conflict becomes clear. Because what is being acted upon, the present state, is not separate from the mind that is trying to change it. The same mind that says, I must become calm, is the mind that is currently restless. The same mind that says, I must overcome fear, is the mind experiencing fear. This creates a contradiction. One part of the mind is trying to control another part. One part is judging, another is being judged. One part is the authority, another is the problem. But both are movements of the same structure. Thought. This division creates continuous friction. The mind is in conflict with itself, trying to change what it is through the very process that sustains what it is. And because the ideal is always projected into the future, the resolution of this conflict is always postponed. I will become free from this. I will resolve this later. I will eventually reach a state where this is no longer a problem. But that state never arrives as imagined, because the movement of becoming continues. The mind moves from one ideal to another, from one effort to another, from one version of itself to another. But the underlying conflict remains because the structure that created it has not changed. When attention begins to see this clearly, something fundamental begins to shift. The question is no longer how to become something different. It becomes, can what is be seen without the movement to change it? This question does not lead to passivity. It leads to observation. Because the moment the mind stops trying to become something else, even briefly, the division begins to dissolve. There is no longer an ideal, no longer a gap, no longer a conflict between two imagined states. There is only what is, seen directly, without opposition. And in that direct seeing, something unexpected begins to happen. The conflict which was sustained by the movement of becoming begins to lose its energy. Not because it was resolved, but because the structure that maintained it is no longer active in the same way. And in that, a different kind of change becomes possible. One that does not depend on time, because it is not moving from one state to another. It is the ending of the division itself. It is the ending of the division itself. When the movement of psychological time begins to quiet, even slightly, something very different starts to reveal itself within experience. It is not something new being created, but something that has always been present beneath the constant movement of becoming. There is a stillness, not the stillness of control, not something achieved through effort, but the natural absence of movement toward or away from something in time. In that stillness, the mind is no longer divided between past and future. It is not carrying what has been. It is not reaching toward what should be. It is simply present, fully, without direction, without projection. This may feel unfamiliar at first because the mind has long been conditioned to operate through time. It has relied on movement, on becoming, improving, achieving, as a way of orienting itself. Without that movement, there may be a brief sense of not knowing what to do. But if attention remains with this stillness, something becomes clear. Nothing needs to be done in order for experience to continue. Life does not stop. Perception does not disappear. Action still arises when needed, but it arises differently, without being driven by the past, without being shaped by the future, without being filtered through the idea of becoming. There is a directness to it, a simplicity, a kind of intelligence that is not based on accumulation, because it is not coming from memory. It is not coming from projection. It is coming from the clarity of what is actually seen in the moment. In this state, the present is no longer a point in time. It is not something moving from one moment to the next. It is a continuous unfolding, timeless in the sense that it is not measured psychologically. There is no sense of I was or I will be. There is only what is, and what is does not need time in order to be complete. This does not remove chronological time. The clock still moves. Events still occur in sequence. But internally, the mind is no longer bound to that sequence. It is not projecting itself into it. It is not identifying with it. It is simply aware. And in that awareness, something becomes evident. The entire movement of psychological time, the past, the future, the becoming, was not necessary for living. It was a structure created by thought. And now, without that structure dominating perception, something else begins to take its place, not as a replacement, but as what has always been there. A sense of presence, unmoving, unfragmented, complete, not moving toward anything, not coming from anything, simply here, without time. movement of psychological time comes to an end, even for a moment, something becomes immediately clear. Nothing essential is missing. For so long, the mind believed that something had to be reached, achieved, or understood in the future. It moved through time searching for completion, carrying the past and projecting the future, always assuming that what is present is not enough. But when that movement stops, the assumption falls with it. There is no longer a distance between what is and what should be, no longer a gap to close, no longer a version of yourself waiting somewhere ahead. What remains is not a state, not something special, not something to be held on to. It is simply the absence of division, the absence of becoming. And in that absence, there is a completeness that was never created. It was always there, only hidden by the movement of time. After the movements of past and future have been observed, separately, something deeper begins to reveal itself. These two are not independent. They are part of the same structure. A single movement. This movement is psychological time. It is not the time measured by clocks or calendars that time is necessary. It allows coordination, planning, and practical living. But psychological time is different. It is created by thought. It exists as the movement between what has been and what might be. Memory forms the past. Projection creates the future. And thought moves between them. This movement creates a sense of continuity, a sense that there is a self moving through time, evolving, becoming, progressing from one state to another. I was this. I am this. I will become that. This sequence feels real. It feels like life itself. But when attention observes closely, the entire movement is happening now. The memory of the past appears now. The image of the future appears now. The movement between them is happening now. Psychological time is not something that exists outside of the present. It is a movement within it. Thought creates distance, distance between what is and what should be. Distance between what was and what could be. And within that distance, the idea of becoming is born. The mind begins to believe that something essential lies ahead, that what is present is incomplete, that fulfillment, clarity, or resolution will come later. And so the movement continues, from past to future, through the present, but the present is no longer lived. It is used as a step, a bridge, a transition. This is the structure of psychological time, and within it, the sense of self is sustained. Because the self exists as continuity, as a story moving through time. Without this movement, the story cannot continue in the same way. When attention begins to see this clearly, something starts to shift. The present is no longer just a point between past and future. It begins to stand on its own, not as part of time, but as something outside of it. And in that observation, a deeper question begins to emerge. Is psychological time necessary for living? Or is it something the mind has created and can therefore see through? As the structure of psychological time begins to come into focus, one central movement becomes impossible to ignore. Becoming. The sense that you are moving from what you are toward what you should be. This movement appears natural, almost necessary. The mind has been conditioned to believe that improvement, growth and transformation happen through time. That you begin in one state, and through effort, experience, or understanding, you gradually become something else. I am not enough now, but I will be. I am confused now, but I will understand. I am incomplete now, but I will become whole. These statements form the foundation of becoming, and within them lies a subtle assumption that what is present is not sufficient, that something essential is missing, and that it will be found in the future. This assumption drives the entire movement of psychological time. The mind creates an ideal, a version of what should be, and then it begins moving toward it, comparing, measuring, evaluating, progressing, or believing it is progressing. But when this movement is observed carefully, something unexpected begins to reveal itself. The ideal is created by thought. It is based on memory, on past experience, on what has been seen, learned, or imagined, and the self that is moving toward the ideal is also created by thought. It is the current version of identity, also shaped by memory. This means something very important. Both ends of becoming are constructed. The starting point and the destination, thought creates both and then moves between them, calling that movement growth. But in reality, the movement is circular. The past creates an ideal. The present is measured against it. Effort is made to close the gap, and whatever is achieved becomes part of the past again, from which a new ideal is formed. The cycle continues, always moving, never arriving. Because what is being pursued is a projection, not something real that can be reached. This is the core of psychological time, the belief that something essential lies ahead, and that through becoming it will be attained. But when attention sees this clearly, something begins to shift. The urgency to become starts to weaken, not because growth is rejected, but because the structure behind it is understood. The mind begins to question whether what is being sought is actually in the future at all, or whether it has been obscured by the constant movement toward it. And in that question, the movement of becoming begins to slow. Not forced, but naturally, because it is no longer believed in the same way. And in that slowing, something entirely different begins to reveal itself. Not in time, but outside of it.